Aprilia is the most dangerous sleeping giant in motorcycling right now. And before you get up in arms and say, this is bought and paid for by Big Piaggio, this is Yami Noob shilling once again, these are actually my thoughts and opinions, and I think you're going to want to hear them out. For years now, Aprilia was about as niche as it gets. Unless you were deep into racing, you probably didn't even know they existed. But behind the scenes, they've been building something pretty serious. Over the last decade, they've gone from making small two-stroke race bikes and Rotax-powered oddities to being a full-blown manufacturer of genuinely world-class performance machines. Their lineup is tight and intentional. It's not bloated and filled with anything they think is just going to sell. Their reliability and value now rivals brands that used to embarrass them. And they're not doing so bad on the world stage either. And yet, they're still flying under the radar. Aprilia is close, like really close to making this happen. So today, I'm going to talk to you about what they need to do to go from underrated to completely impossible to ignore. Because we all love an underdog story. Let's get started. If Aprilia finally wants to break into the mainstream like they deserve, a great place to start would be by winning a MotoGP Championship. Yes, we're going to start talking about MotoGP. Don't tune out just yet. MotoGP is the pinnacle of motorcycle racing. You guys know I'm a huge fan. Point and simple, it's validation and recognition for the brand. You've probably all heard the saying before, what wins on Sunday sells on Monday. And yeah, you can't buy a MotoGP prototype bike, but you can buy into the brand nonetheless. You can buy the machines that are influenced by the engineering innovations that take place within a company's racing program. And we've seen it time and time again. The cultural relevance that follows when a manufacturer is winning at the highest level. When Valentino Rossi dominated in the 2000s with Yamaha, the brand went from being a formidable member of the Big Four to being culturally untouchable. The R1 became the sport bike, a legacy that stuck with it for decades all the way until today because it carried so much GP winning DNA. When Honda was on their run in the 2010s with Marc Marquez, we were all reminded that Honda was still an industry leader, not just the conservative safe bet. And sure, you could argue that that was just purely down to Marc Marquez's unbelievable alien levels of talent that dragged that bike to the finish line week over week, but still. I mean, have you seen what the RC213V race replicas have sold for over the years? $250,000. $250,000. That's nuts! Not to mention the amount of Repsol CBRs Honda has printed on the back of their racing success. And more recently, you can see certainly the way in which Ducati's GP program has been a crucial part of their global dominance. 4 back-to-back championships in a row with 3 different riders, one on a satellite bike, is not something you can ignore. MotoGP doesn't just prove that manufacturers can make the fastest prototypes or have the best racers, it changes how people perceive everything that they build. And right now, Aprilia has the same opportunity to cash in. As of April 2026, Marco Bezzecchi is in the #1 spot racing for Aprilia, and Jorge Martin is in #2 in the championship standings. And honestly, I think Jorge is going to be a dark choice to win the championship. So maybe this could be the year for Aprilia. I mean, look at where the satellite bikes are too. Raul Fernandez and Ayagura always top 5, top 6. Come on. They're very close to something massive. A championship win would be something of a disruption, and I think the entire industry would take notice. Because look at it this way, Aprilia, when they joined in MotoGP back again in the mid-2010s, they were seen as a joke. They were backmarkers week over week. They could barely sign up any talent to jump aboard their machines. And honestly, until Aleix Espargaro showed up and really started getting the program back on track, they were kind of just another joke manufacturer. And realistically, if you're going to show up to go racing, you better start winning and getting results. Otherwise, you might not want to show up at all. Aprilia has been really leading the charge in aerodynamic developments on the GP bike, and it really shows with the addition of the side pods, increased downforce during mid-corners. These bikes are turning like nothing else. And imagine the kind of press materials they could have if they could finally update the 54 championship stickers to 55 World Championship stickers on their motorcycles. If Aprilia can win hearts with a MotoGP Championship win, then they need to have the right bike on the showroom floor to back it up. There was no doubt that they were leaders in the world of Twins Cup, not-so-super-sport styled motorcycles. The Yamaha R7, GSX-8R, and Daytona 660 would all not be here if it weren't for Aprilia and the RS660. They were the first ones to do that, and they took the big risk. While the RS660 is an awesome motorcycle, it's not an endpoint for most riders. 100 horsepower is great, but for experienced riders, it can feel like it's missing that last 25%. The other end of the middleweight category is currently occupied by the next-gen Supersports, the Yamaha R9, the Panigale V2, and the KTM 990 RCR. But Aprilia is nowhere to be found. They will sell you either a 100 horsepower middleweight or a 215 horsepower superbike. That's kind of an insane leap for someone to make. For the pioneer of the two-cylinder sport bike, I think they're missing a huge opportunity to join the ranks of the new era of supersports. The R9 is fun, but it's not what you'd call exotic. And to be honest, it's a little plain to ride. The KTM is interesting, but it carries a lot of KTM question marks. The Panigale V2 is an awesome bike for sure, but it costs a pretty penny, especially if you go for the S trim. Now imagine an RS 900. Let's say 900-ish cc twin, about 130 horsepower, same lightweight chassis philosophy, same electronics package, same overall feel as the RS660, just with more punch. Now you've got something that hits the sweet spot. Enough performance to excite experienced riders, enough usability to actually enjoy on the street, and priced in a way that undercuts Ducati while still feeling premium, which is kind of the whole thing that Aprilia does. And I think if Aprilia could execute that, it'd be a knockout hit.
Woo-hoo-hoo, boys, I'll tell you what, I never get tired of listening to this Aprilia 210 V4. It sounds so good. And if you want to make it sound so good in your own driveway, it is a giveaway bike on my website, yaminoob.co. Click the link down below, become a member today, support the show, and get access to win our incredible Aprilia 210 V4 factory. Now let's get back to the show.
Aprilia isn't a European underdog because of their bikes. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm sure many people have felt the beginnings of a love affair with an Aprilia product only to talk themselves out of it because of the intrusive thoughts. They'll say, okay, but where even would I find an Aprilia dealer? What if I need warranty work? How long will I be waiting for parts? And whether that reputation is fully deserved or not, it definitely still exists. I see it in the comments all the time. Meanwhile, other European brands have built strong ecosystems around their brands. BMW, Triumph, people don't have the same reservations about purchasing these bikes. They have provided support and availability that makes the decision feel easy. Even Ducati, which is the poster child of temperamental Italian machines, have largely overcome that stigma. Maybe it was Volkswagen, maybe it was Ducati, maybe a little bit of both, who can say? Because nowadays you can find a Ducati dealership in most major US cities and expect to just be taken care of. Aprilia just isn't quite there yet. But I think they could learn a lot by following in the footsteps of the other brands who've overcome those reputations. They don't need to print out dealerships at Honda's scale, but we want to live in a world where it's easier to find an Aprilia dealership than a CF Moto dealership, right? I want to live in that world. Do you? A longer warranty period goes a lot longer way to earn the trust of a risk-averse customer as well. Again, they need to look to brands who have overcome a lack of trust with customers. KTM is now offering a 4-year warranty on their new motorcycles as default. Now, you might say KTM has to do that to maintain business, but I digress. And then, while kind of tangentially related, Hyundai and Kia have survived countless PR hellstorms solely by offering a 10-year warranty. If Aprilia can fix the ownership experience to match the quality of their bikes, they don't just remove doubt, they remove the only real reason to not buy one. If a 900cc Supersport is how Aprilia wins the middleweight category, then cross-platforming their existing engines is how they win the entire market. Because right now, Aprilia's lineup is incredibly svelte. It's all killer, no filler. It's small, it's focused, and honestly, it's really good. There's no weird cash grabs, no half-baked bikes. Everything they build feels intentional, and honestly, they're all pretty damn good to ride. The RS660, Touareg 660, 210 V4 are all serious players in their category, but there's still an opportunity they're leaving on the table. Every other manufacturer is squeezing everything they can out of their platforms. Yamaha built the CP2 and CP3 over a decade ago, and they're still printing money with them. MT bikes, XSRs, Teneres, R bikes, Tracers, they're everywhere. And nobody complains because those engines work in almost every application. Aprilia might be newer to the game, but their engines are just as good, if not better. I mean, they kind of invented this whole Twins Cup not-so-super-sport thing. So why not stretch them? They've already got the RS 457, and that's a pretty good platform, now in the Tuono 457 configuration. So where's the Touareg 457? The entry-level ADV segment is booming. CF Moto Ibex 450, Royal Enfield Himalayan, Kawasaki KLE 500, even BMW's jumped in with the 450 GS. I think that's an easy win. Then there's the 660 platform, and in many ways, this is the brand's bread and butter. And even there's still room to grow. Where's the true sport tourer? Maybe something that sits between a Tuono and the Touareg. Upright, comfortable, wind protection, softer suspension, but still sharp enough to be fun on the street. That's a segment people are constantly searching for. And the V4? I mean, Ducati throws a V4 in everything, from the Panigale to the Multistrada and the Diavel. What's stopping Aprilia from doing the same? Now, nobody wants Aprilia to go full Honda and end up with a bloated, confusing, full lineup. But something closer to Yamaha or Ducati would be an easy win. Focused platforms applied across multiple categories. That's how you grow without losing your identity. You maintain the philosophy, you maintain the attitude, just find more places to apply it. Because that's how Aprilia stops being niche and starts becoming unavoidable. If Aprilia can capture the passion of an Italian OEM while delivering the value and ease of ownership of a Japanese brand, they become fully unstoppable. Because for decades you had to choose. Do you want peak performance or do you want reliability? If you wanted something exotic, emotional, something that felt special, you bought Italian. If you wanted something bulletproof, maybe a little bit stale, you went Japanese. That's just how it worked for literally decades. Things have improved with Ducati, but in that case, you do have to pay to play. Their bikes are expensive to build and they're still not cheap to maintain. Aprilia, on the other hand, has a unique advantage. They've got the Piaggio group signing the checks, which gives them the resources to build world-class bikes without pricing them into the stratosphere. You know they've got all that Vespa money coming in, keeping their bottom line happy. An Aprilia Tuono V4 factory, like the one sitting right next to me here, is about $20,000, while a Ducati Street Fighter V4S pushes over $30,000. And look, I will simp for Ducati all day long. You guys know I'm kind of a dyed-in-the-wool Ducatisti at this point. But I'm not sure you're getting $10,000 more motorcycle with the Street Fighter. This Tuono is incredible. At the same time, Aprilia's engine platforms are now proven. They're sorted, reliable enough to keep expanding their lineup using existing architecture, and that doesn't feel risky, it feels smart. Because this engine's been around since 2009, just slowly being changed over time. So imagine a world where Aprilia becomes known as the affordable exotic, because right now, Ducati is clearly targeting the upper end of the K-shaped economy. Premium, cutting-edge, almost luxury tier motorcycles. I mean, how much is that new Centenario? $250,000? It's crazy. The Japanese brands are leaning into what they always do, with value and approachability. And Triumph's motorcycles are starting to do a bit of the same. They're a little safe, a little more diluted, more beginner bikes, more detuned milquetoast triples, and dare I say it, tubular steel frames. That leaves a gap that Aprilia is perfectly positioned to fill. If Aprilia can own that space, they don't just compete with everyone. They create a category that nobody else currently occupies, which would be pretty sweet. Now, allow me for a moment to put on my pragmatic business hat. In case you didn't know, I have a bachelor's of science in economics that I pretty much use for nothing. Aprilia doesn't need to do anything crazy. They don't need to build insane Kawasaki-level novelties like supercharged leader bikes or 400cc inline 4s. They don't need to do some crazy backroom financial nonsense. They just need to stick to what they do best, but expand their opportunities in ways that other bigger brands have. The blueprint is already there to be followed. Racing success, diversified products, and a brand identity that resonates with people. Business is not complicated. I think in the last 20, 30 years or so, we've let consultants run amok and convinced us that all this is really complicated. It's not. If Aprilia gets it right, they won't just become relevant. They'll set a new standard that everyone else will have to follow. But what do you guys think? Is Aprilia on track to become a truly unstoppable force? Is there an Aprilia dealership where you live in Goshen, Indiana? I feel very lucky that I have 2 really nice Aprilia dealers all within an hour radius, but I do live in a major metro area. Will Aprilia's dominance in MotoGP have kind of waned by the time this video finally comes out? So many unanswered questions. If you want to find closure, if you want to hunt down the answers, then subscribe to Yami Noob. With near daily motorcycle content, we're bound to get to the bottom of it sooner or later. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of today's video. I will catch you in the next one, and I would be remiss not to mention that this Aprilia right next to me is our latest giveaway motorcycle. Head over to yaminoob.co and become a member today. Bye-bye.